Well, this is some special tape. It's actually very high heat tape. It's good to almost 400 degrees, and it's got a peel-off backing. What I'm going to use this for is actually to wrap some wire. And you're thinking, well, it's metal, you shouldn't wrap wire with it. Well, that's true, but before I wrapped the wire with this, I wrapped it with Gorilla Tape, and I also put some zip ties on it to hold the Gorilla Tape from unraveling. And I'm going to go over it with this after that. And the reason is because there's an area underneath the exhaust system, underneath the car by the exhaust system, that if you have a leak in your exhaust system, the leak from the exhaust system will melt the wires. So I had to go back and I had to change the wires going from like here to here where the muffler was leaking. And I never thought that was going to be a problem. I never fixed the muffler, and I didn't think it was going to be a problem. But, you know, because I had a hole in the muffler on this Chevy for freaking umpteen years and never melted any wires. But apparently, the wires are pretty much in line with the exhaust system. So if you have a leak in the exhaust system, it'll melt the wires in that Suzuki. So what I'm doing is, you know, I fixed the exhaust system already, but what I want to do is I moved the wires. I made them a little bit longer and moved them a little bit further away from where the muffler is, a little bit to the side, and I'm going to wrap them up with this tape that is good to about almost 400 degrees. It'll reflect the heat, so it'll probably, maybe the wires would last. You know, if you ever got a hole in the muffler, it won't melt the wires. Actually, the fact that that muffler was screwed up and the tailpipe was off of it, it even melted the tail light back here, and twice. And I thought there was a short in the wires. It was melting this one right here. And you see the tailpipe comes out like this. The exhaust was coming straight out this way and it was melting this thing. So, turned out, you know, I changed the taillight housing twice before I figured out, hey, it was the freaking mufflers. Then all of a sudden I had a problem with the wiring. The left turn signal was doing some funky stuff, and the fuel gauge wasn't working. That's because the sending unit in the tank wasn't, the wire to the sending unit in the tank was bad. And all that was just because they didn't bother to change the muffler, which I could have changed it, no problem, but I didn't really think it was a big deal. And I might have to change the sending unit in the fuel tank. I got another one. It seems to work. It doesn't seem to work as accurate as it used to, but I'll change that if I need to. So we're going to put this tape up on there and make sure these wires are up out of the way. So if you get a hole in the muffler, you know, watch where your wires are. Usually the fuel lines, by standard, they'll run the exhaust system on the opposite side where the fuel line is, and that's smart. But as far as the wires, if they're running them inside the body, you're not going to have a problem with them getting melted. But that's just a simple 4x4, and they were running off, you know, at the bottom of the floor pan there, and the exhaust system was like maybe about, I don't know, about 10 inches below it, which, you know, normally, and it was covered with the wires were covered with a heat resistant tape. So under normal circumstances, they'd never have a problem. But if you have a hole in the muffler, that hot exhaust is just blowing right up on the wires. And it was a pain in the ass changing those wires, tell you the truth, because they were up behind the fuel tank and stuff like that. I had to get all that into there. So we're going to wrap them up and make sure, you know, if there's ever a hole in the muffler again, won't have this problem. That'll hold it. It's on there with also a metal wire, vinyl coated metal wire plus the zip tie. So here's the muffler. So if the muffler gets a hole in it, it's moved over a few inches this way to the side, but it's wrapped up with that. So that should reflect the heat for a while. It's hopefully, you know, in case it ever gets a hole in it again, you know, it should. Normally the wires are up in the rocker panels on the cars. So this is, you know, a 4x4, so it's just on the floor. So something else you got to watch out for.